Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. And the last couple of days I've been scrolling over Twitter and just checking out a bunch of the different posts of, people at the European Nationals, as well as different deck lists that have been popping up either through, friends of mine that I follow on Twitter. They either like or, retweet something. Very cool to see some of these lists. And I will say the vast majority of them I found through my man Orange Samurai D. So if you are not following him on Twitter, do yourself a favor and do so. He was at the event and got to be there firsthand, see everything that was going on, got to catch a lot of deck lists as well as a lot of, really cool moments captured in either video or, pictures that he posted on his Twitter feed. So highly recommend checking him out, dropping him a follow, because a lot of the deck lists that I found he actually reposted or posted after talking with the players. And he does have a YouTube video that he just posted recently that was his first impressions of the European Championship itself, and I would highly recommend just checking out all of his socials. I'll have them, I had them pop up here, but I'll have them all linked down below in the description. And from some of the deck lists that he was able to tweet out, as well as, repost from some of the players, I wanted to go over and just take a look at, some of the decks that did really well throughout the day. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop into it. And to start us off, we have Fabian's Sakazuki list, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I believe it's Fabian. It might be Fabian, but I believe it's Fabian, from what I heard on the, from the casters on the live stream. But we do have the Sakazuki list here that took first place. I think this is very standard from what we've been seeing of a lot of Sakazuki. One thing to note, though, that I really liked about this list that is different than some of the other lists of Sakazuki that topped was there's no 10 cost. No Kaido, no Kuzan, no 9 cost Mihawk, none of the higher cards that we have been seeing in some lists. Chose to not run those and instead go a little bit heavier on certain cards, such as 3 cost Hina here being a 3 of. I've seen a lot of lists either run 3, 2, or none of this card, right? And we're going to be looking over some of them, but Hina, I feel like, is a card that gets cycled a lot, and that's what it felt like watching some of the championship finals. Was it didn't really see the play onto the board as much as we might have expected for it to be, but it was more or less just kind of cycled very freely and put into trash, and basically to draw the other pieces that we needed in the deck build. But it was very interesting to see 3 of this over potentially a 4th Borsalino, but hey, I didn't win, nor would I ever, probably. So yeah, he obviously knows what he's doing with this list and absolutely crushed. So big congrats to him for taking first place. I love to see that there's 3 Kuzans as well. Thought this was pretty interesting. I think that my substitution was I had, instead of the 3, I ran 2, and I had the 10 cost Kaido in here. Similar list, but I didn't try the Hina as much because I felt as though unless I saw it in that very early stage of the game, it never really did what I wanted it to. But I guess, it probably ran really well for him in a lot of the matches that he played throughout the weekend. And now going into second place, we actually have Hurvoye, I believe. I, yet again, apologize if I am getting that incorrect, but second place here from Hurvoye. And this is going to be where we do see the 10 cost Kaido. 2 of the 10 cost Kaidos being ran with a substitution on, not running 3 of the 4 cost Kuzans, not running 2 of the Sabos, but instead kind of swapping these out for some different choices in the list. And this is a card that I have been trying as a one of in some of my decks, as you guys have seen in some of my videos recently. I like the one of Bartolomeo, and I understand why he was running this in the list. It doesn't see play all too much, but realistically the card's just in there for the 9th 2k counter, but also to be able to be picked back up off of Rebecca from trash, which is really nice. And yeah, I mean, this was really interesting because this was such a similar deck list to what I run. It made me feel as though I wasn't crazy for some of the choices I was making. But again, with the 3-cost Hina, I think that perhaps I need to touch back up on trying this card again, because I have seen consistently a lot of the decks that are running, really well in these tournaments do tend to be running this Hina. Now, is it kind of more a filler card to try and, see more consistency, get more draw power and what have you? Potentially. I do think that at the end of the day, this deck is super flexible, so it's not like the end of the world if you don't have the card. And I believe the next deck actually might not run it, but we will take a look here. Oh, nope, never mind. Francis getting 5th place. And yet again, I would love to have like all the top 8, top 16 decks, but unfortunately, I didn't find a location that had all of the deck lists spread out, or places that you could individually go to see every single one of these. Fingers crossed for my man Eggman over there potentially having one in the future. I don't know where you would get all this information. He has his secret methods. But Orange Samurai, big shout out to the man yet again for getting a lot of these lists and putting them up onto the Twitter so that everybody can check them out. But this was 5th place by Francis, and super solid run to get, even to get top 64 in an event that had over 2,500 players. Absolutely impressive. But Francis, this deck list was so shocking to me for 2 reasons. One, 3 10-cost Kaido. That is crazy. I love it, but I am like, oh my god. That seems like a lot, But hey, he crushed it. Got to top 8 and absolutely destroyed the competition throughout the 2 days. I mean, obviously he's onto something. But that's what surprised me, was 3 10-cost Kaidos and no 4-cost Kuzan whatsoever. So no 4-cost Kuzan, 3 of those, as well as 2 of the 7-cost Borsalinos. This just felt so interesting to me, because I was like, wow, all right, putting a major emphasis on the 10-cost Kaido in this deck list and trying to build around it. Basically, I would imagine maybe his plan going into the days with this deck list was to counter out of a lot of hits, stay healthy towards the end of the game, consistently see Kaido, and play the card, towards the end of the match, looking healthy with, 3 life or something of the sort. But I could be wrong. Just seems really interesting, and I love that each of the Sakazuki lists kind of had their own ideas, and yeah, it's really, really cool to see. And the next deck list that we have up actually is a top 16 finish from Jimmy playing Enel. And this does look pretty standard to what we've seen. I think there are some interesting notes, is that 4 of the 200 million volts Amaru is pretty hefty. I've seen a lot of Enel decks running more like Thunderbolts per se, like 4 Thunderbolts and perhaps like 3 Amaru, or 3 Thunderbolts and 2 Amaru, but it's this was really, really event heavy comparatively to a lot of the Enel lists that I've seen in the past. But running the L Thor as well, I do think this card is super clutch for the deck list, especially how, Enel has been ran recently. Really like the idea of L Thor in the list. Obviously 4 Yamato, 4 Katakuri. And then we're going into 2 7-cost Linlins and 1 Rush Enel. I think this card is a little slept on sometimes. It's very annoying for Sakazuki to deal with in the matchup. I also think that it's just a really solid card into a lot of matchups. Removing it can be a pain, and yes, it forces you to trash a life, but half the time you don't care. So it's a pretty interesting card. I'm shocked that I don't tend to see, I either see like nobody running it, or I see like 2 of in a list, but 1 of here makes sense. This has been a card we've been seeing a lot of people hop into on the Enel list as well, is the 4-cost Rush Katakuri. Love the 6k stat line, being able to adjust your life or your opponent's life too, just to gain some information. Yeah, very interesting card. I think that it's now becoming more of a staple in the list versus a tech choice. But obviously the 4 Gadatsu, Ohm, Holly, and 4 of the Shirahoshi, that card just is becoming a menace right now. It's really good. It's providing a lot of value, that's for sure. And then we also had another yellow list. This was getting top 32. This got 20th place from Fernando. And this list, when I was typing it in, was kind of all over the place. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed. There are a lot of cards in this list, and there's a lot of 1 of, 2 ofs that I thought would be more consistently like 4 ofs. But, obviously he crushed getting top 32, 20th place with this Katakuri, running 2 of the Shirahoshi, and I think all in all, I believe it was 10 2K counters. It was Strusen, Beji, Amande. Oh no, 12 2K counters. Okay, 12 2K counters with the Satori. Yeah. But the Brule at 2 of, as well as Sanji at 4 of, so a little heavier on the blocker side of things with the Katakuri list here. Only running the 1 of 8 cost, which it makes sense considering you're only running 2 Shirahoshis, but I do think that this combination is absolutely insane if you can pull it off. It's also just the removal of 8 cost, or the removal that 8 cost Katakuri provides is really good, so I was a little surprised to see it at 1, and Linlin at 3, but clearly did exceptionally well with the list. And 3 of each of the events, the Thunderbolt and the Amaru, and I think that that's to be expected. Those cards just do super well for yellow in this meta at the moment. 2 of the Smoothie, though, trying to get a lot of triggers in this deck. It looks as though we have a healthy amount of cards that can be played from trigger. So yellow is going to be, yellow Katakuri here is going to be very aggressive with the board and trashing life fairly aggressively. And getting 22nd place, it looked as though we had Ricardo taking the 22nd place. And this was a Purple Luffy that I really liked. Just putting this in here and looking over the list, I really liked it because, 1, I don't see a ton of people running Blast Breath. I like Blast Breath a lot, honestly. I think this card is so nice, especially when you have Eustace Captain Kidd. You kind of just get that Dawn back for free. Sometimes you can attach it to your leader or another swing, but occasionally you need to play defensively, and just having that Blast Breath and getting an active Dawn back from Kid or what have you is just really nice. It's really nice. So seeing both events at 2 here, love to see it. Kaido at 3. This always scares me. Maybe I'm just the most unlucky purple player in the world or something like that, but I play Purple Luffy, and I run 4 Kaidos now because I swear I feel like even running 4, I never see this card. Maybe I'm just unlucky. I don't know. But, yeah, I feel like I never see the card. So running 3 is, that's crazy. And I'm assuming that, I'm assuming Ricardo had to be drawing pretty dang good to get this consistently, because man, maybe I'm just cursed. I might be cursed by the gods. But I love the idea of Urashima over the 7-cost Useless Captain Kid. Gives you a little more counter power in the list. Also, a lot of these cards tend to get removed pretty quickly. So playing this down and for it to be removed, it's not like the biggest L in the world. Yeah, you don't feel like you invested too much. You didn't have to lose a Dawn instead of the what the Useless Captain Kid would provide. But you know, it's interesting. I think that there's like 2 arguments to the side of which card is better. I personally don't know. I don't run them enough, but I do like the idea. And then this was pretty interesting. Was running a lot of 2K counters, but a lot of 2 of 2K counters. So 2 of the Khalifa 2K counter for being able to draw 2 cards, discard 1. 2 of the Furnosuke, because you never know when you might need that one last swing with a rush card, and this might just be it. And then 2 of the X-Drake. I think X-Drake is super solid, so it was a little surprising to see this at 2. I know that most decks that I've seen have been prioritizing running the X-Drake over, let's say, like Furnosuke, but I think Khalifa is a fantastic choice. Sometimes you have a play where you can get this down onto the board to maybe cycle out some dead cards in hand. Feels really nice, actually. And it can get you that like turn 3 draw into, you know, some necessary cards that you're looking for. Love to see it overall, so congratulations to Ricardo. And then we had Mattia with Zoro here, and this was like kind of what I've been seeing in Zoro, but a little surprising to a certain degree, because 4 guard points as well as 4 radical beams. That was like, whoa, okay. You know, I understand that, you know, the deck wants to take life pretty aggressively and then defend with these events and just play, you know, very aggressive with the low-cost cards, pumping them up with Makino and Magra, using Rush Luffy and Rush Zoro to constantly keep getting resources out of your opponent's hand or to keep getting life. It's an annoying deck. I've played against something very similar, and it's very annoying to deal with. However, I was a little surprised. 4 of each of the events, but I guess that's probably what's, you know, making the deck work right now. And also, it kind of surprised me that somebody was, you know, taking the risk of playing Zoro at such a big event that, you know, you would be expecting a lot of yellow players playing Enel, specifically because Enel just wrecks this deck. I'm not entirely sure if Mattia dodged a lot of the Enel matches, but I know that this list can do exceptionally well up against Sakazuki. It does feel like you have a place with this list in the current meta, but you just get directly countered to one single deck. So if you play that, it's really, I would almost say it's almost impossible to win the matchup. But if Zoro can make things work, you never know. You know, Red's always got a place somewhere. The 2 Diable Jambes also definitely crushing people's hopes and dreams. And then one last list that I had at the very end that looked really neat was the Red Purple Luffy that got top 64 by Christos. And yeah, I thought this was cool. Fairly standard idea of Red Purple Luffy, but there was one thing that surprised me a little bit, was a lot of the dedication to 2K counters in the list versus even one more Diable Jambe. There isn't a lot of ramp that Christos was running in the list, and only one Diable Jambe. So there's a 4-cost event, obviously, that's going to give you that active Dawn as well as drawing a card. Very nice. And then you also have the Jean Bart, but only a 1 of to be able to ramp up, and 3 of the Zoro Juros. So I guess that surprised me a little bit, was just taking a look at the list and seeing, wow, okay, there's kind of, oh, actually, I guess you could consider Gum Gum Jet Gatling a ramp as well, because you could get this off of life, and that will allow you to get up. But less priority on the ramp side of, you know, the purple side of the red Purple Luffy list, and more kind of prioritizing the aggression with 4 Zoros, 4 Rush Luffys, and having you know, 4 of the new gates, 3 of the 10 cost Luffy as well. Pretty aggressive. Pretty aggressive. Definitely trying to go for quick matches. I think that he was teching around potentially playing a lot of Sakazuki, so pretty interesting list overall. I enjoyed, you know, checking out a lot of these matches. Super fun. But I'd love to hear what y'all's thoughts are, and I'd love to see more lists in the future of some of the, you know, some of the decks that were played at the European Nationals, and who did well with what list, how it was working for them. Massive shout out to Orange Samurai yet again for, you know, retweeting as well as posting a lot of these lists, and crediting a lot of the players with their Twitter handles if they did have one. So if you haven't checked him out, please do so. But other than that, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch y'all in the next one, all right? Peace.